Hey dreamers, this is Anisha Jennings, a fellow immigrant and an entrepreneur. From being an engineer in India to building my tech business in the US, I've lived the journey you're on. Welcome to Your American Dream podcast, where we turn immigrant challenges into superpowers. Are you feeling out of place, struggling with a job hunt, or simply missing home? I've been there, and I'm here to guide you through it. In each episode, we'll dive into real stories, practical advice, and mindset that will help you write your unique success story. From navigating cultural differences to building a purposeful life, I've got you covered. So if you're ready to turn your immigrant experience into your greatest strength, let's dive in. Your American dream starts now. Welcome to Your American Dream. I'm Anisha Jennings, and today I'm honored to welcome Gloria Kloter, award-winning architect, founder, and CEO of Glow Architects, keynote speaker, and best-selling author. Gloria has practiced architecture in both the Dominican Republic and the US and is a passionate advocate for immigrant architects, women in architecture, and working mothers. She is the author of The Architecture of Motherhood and co-author of Shapers and Prospering in the US, where she uplifts immigrant designers navigating licensure and leadership. Gloria currently serves as Director of Programs for the Immigrant Architects Coalition and was recently elected as an at-large representative to AIA, National Strategic Council. Welcome, Gloria. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me, Anisha. This is an honor.
Thank you. So tell us about your journey. You have done so much. You are a keynote speaker, you are an author, you won an award. So tell us how your journey started.
And now I'm starting this. I don't even mention in the bio yet because it's so new, but I'm starting to do this voice acting scene, which we can talk about it later. But I'm originally from the Dominican Republic. I think that's one thing important to point out because most of your interviews is related to people who are immigrants like me. So I am originally from the Dominican Republic. I was born and raised back there. I went to school back there, studied architecture there, got my license there, and even had a business, a small business on architecture there. Then around 2013, I met who is now my husband. I met him back there. We fell in love, decided to get married. And then we did that in 2015. What happened was when we decided to make to switch the countries because we were kind of pondering if we were going to live in the in the Dominican Republic or in the United States because he's American, I'm Dominican, and just based on the opportunities and all that, obviously the obvious choice was going to the States. But one of the things that really made us think about it was because I had established business back in the DR, and he was transitioning from being a Marine, a U.S. Marine, to start doing real estate. So it was a decision that we needed to ponder because it's like, okay, we're going to the States and having more opportunities, but like we both are going to be starting from scratch. That makes sense.
Right.
Because he was making a career change and then I'm like starting a new country. But in my head, and this is important, this is an important part of my story is I didn't do enough research before I came. I thought that it was going to be not easy, but just like, well, I have my license and I have my business, so I can just transfer that to the United States. I can keep doing my business. And you, baby, take your time to get your feet on the ground and get going because I got you. That was my mentality.
Right.
But when I came to the States, I hit a wall because, first of all, my architecture license wasn't valid. My English wasn't that great. I couldn't even call myself an architect because of the whole licensing.
Right.
And I just didn't know anything. Nobody around me, my family, friends, nobody around me in the United States at the time knew anything related to architecture. How could I get into the profession here? How could I get a job in an architecture firm? Nothing. And then there was a lot of misconceptions too, because the very first formal job that I got was as kind of like an architectural designer drafter for a home builder. And I thought I was already, it's construction and it's residential. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I mean, I'm in the industry already, which I was. But to get the license in the United States, one of the requirements is that you need to report hours of experience under a licensed architect from the United States. You don't have to report all the hours under the licensed architect in the United States. You can actually report hours internationally, hours under an engineer, volunteer work, and all that. Half of the total is 3,740 hours.
Wow.
I'll never forget that number. Halfway of that has to be under licensed architect in the United States. And in Florida, which is where I am located right now, I'm in Tampa, you can do residential projects and sign the plans, get permits with just the signature of the, for example, the structural engineer. You don't
Mm,
necessarily need the architectural signature, sign and seal from an architect. So the one company that I was working for didn't have an architect in-house, which was affecting my process.
right.
And then I realized I needed to switch jobs, get a job in an architectural firm where there was a licensed architect in-house. So
Right.
I could report the hours with that person. And it's like, oh my gosh, even updating my portfolio and adapting, translating the portfolio from Spanish to English, and not just a language thing, because the
Right.
language barrier is one thing, but the way it made sense in the DR and how I was used to didn't make sense here. I was
Mm,
missing so much information. You have no idea. Like one of the things that I had was that some of the projects that I did, because again, I had my business. So I would get like a remodeling job or something, and I was the architect and I did everything. And I just put in the portfolio, kind of like responsibilities architect. That was it. I mean, in my head, I was saying everything. Like, I mean,
right.
God, right? And I couldn't get responses from people as I was like sending resumes out and portfolios and trying to apply to jobs. And like I wasn't, and I felt like some of these positions, I was actually very qualified for it.
Mm,
And I finally asked for some feedback from one of the firms. And the guy thankfully took some time and gave me some feedback and told me, it just feels like you have all these beautiful images and you have some information on what you've done, but it's hard for me to understand your skills and the knowledge that you have and the experience that you have. Because, for example, in this project, you're saying you were the architect, but like, what did you do? An
right.
architect here does so much, but you don't do everything in the project. So like it's important for me to know like what did you do? Did you do the schematic designs of it, the very beginning part of the process? Did you do CA, construction administration? You were just at the end of it, just going to the field and kind of supervising everything, or did you like held meetings with the clients? Do you have that skill that you can talk to people? You don't get nervous. You're good for presentations. Did
Right.
you project manager the project? Did you have to handle the engineers? Did you write the specifications and kind of
Yeah.
like talk about the interior finishes that needed to be like what did you order samples to the manufacturers? It's just
Right.
simple things like that you don't think
Thing.
about. I'm
Right.
like, yeah, I did all that while he was not here.
Right.
Like I
Right.
you know what I'm saying? So I learned to readjust my portfolio to explain better,
Mm,
to learn some terms that in a common conversation that you will have with someone who is not related to my profession, I will never use some of those terms. So like
right.
they were not taught to me in my English class that I took back in the DR. And some things were new. I just didn't know what those words meant and it were related to my career that I
Right.
was supposed to know and understand. So you get a lot of pressure in this process. You get a lot of feeling that you're unworthy, that you don't have enough knowledge, that the experience that you have from back in your country is just not good enough. And sometimes I feel like I did that a lot where I like put myself down a lot. Like I would talk
Mm,
myself down because and I think that happens a lot, not just with immigrants, but like women too. We tend
yes.
to like
Yes.
want to like check all the boxes. And if we don't check all the boxes, then we're not ready.
Mm,
So I experienced that a lot. But one of the things that I experienced directly, which I found some immigrants that I now mentor have experienced in different capacities, was that I got some bad advice and some people that were very discouraging. Not
mm,
everyone around me was like that. I got a lot of positive in feedback and a lot of encouragement from people, but it takes one person
yes.
to bring you down. So I had that one person. It was at the very beginning back in 2015, and told me something about, your career and your education and your license is not valid here. Why would you even try to get your license? Like
Mm,
there's people that have gone to school here, have English as first language, and they haven't been able to obtain the license because the exams alone are like super hard. Like why would you even
wow.
try? And I remember I went back home crying because I felt like, oh my gosh, I fell in love with this guy, got married, And now I'm like losing this part of myself. Like I'm not
Right.
gonna be an architect anymore. And I have to like deal with that and just accept it. And next day from that conversation, I talked with someone else. Diana was her name. Diana passed away from cancer, but
Oh,
I want to honor her words because she told me, F that, F that, what do you have to lose?
right.
If you
Right.
don't even try, you are for sure losing. Like,
Right.
you have to try it. And I remember coming back home right day after having that really discouraging conversation and then talking with Diana and just coming back home and saying to my husband, I said, you know what? I'm doing this.
Yes.
Watch me. And in 2022, I'm kind of jumping around here. So I'm sorry if I'm like kind of going
No,
over
you're
some of
good.
the questions that you have, but just to point out something related to these parties, I wrote a book called The Architecture of Motherhood in 2022, one of the books that I have.
Yes.
And there is one quote that I wrote that is mine that I said, you know, sometimes people will tell you that you can do something.
Yes.
And most of the time, people are speaking from their own insecurities, their
Right.
own fears, and their own limitations. So the phrase, the quote that I put in my book says, "Don't let other people's limitations limit you. Don't let those limitations that other people have become your own." Um, just today, I watched I was like scrolling down on social media, like we all do sometimes was there was a video of this guy. Oh my gosh, I forgot his name. He's an actor that was in Game of Thrones, and he's very short. And he's talking about how his mom used to have this scene in the headboard of their bed when he was little, and it was something related how bumblebees, based on like science and dynamics and all that, they're not supposed to fly because their
Yes.
bodies are like really out of proportion from
Yes.
their wings. And then it says, but against all odds they still fly. And I got even emotional thinking about it because I'm like, yeah, I mean, I flew, I'm
Yes, you
flying,
did.
so I think I hope people get inspired with that. It's like sometimes people will tell you you can't, and you just need to put the work in and
Yes.
surround yourself with like the right people to like help you get there.
Wow, what a story
Yeah,
from where, and now you're like author, and you won an
doing all this
award.
crazy stuff, right?
Yes, it is amazing. So tell us, how did your career start in, like, the exams, and now I know you're mentoring people because you want to share all that you did not have. So you're sharing your experiences. So tell us, how did your architecture journey start? And now you're the CEO of Glow Architects. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So how it started was I finally got that job in an architecture firm in 2016. I worked with them 4 years, and I did, to give you a summary, you have to complete three basic steps. It's kind of like the main thing. There's more details in each one of them, but I'm just gonna give you the general. So you have to evaluate your education. There's different ways that happens.
Right.
You have to report hours of experience. Those 3,740 hours minimum, depends on the state. Some of them may have like different requirements. And then you have to pass 6 exams. So for me to even pass the exams was like a nightmare because those exams are timed,
Right.
and they are very hard. They're in English. They
Yes.
didn't have accommodations for English as second language. They do have it now because me and a group of people, I'm not gonna take all the credit for it, but me and a group of people have were like so on top of it. Like when you are an immigrant and English is your second language, you tell me if I'm wrong, but that happened to me and happens to a lot of people I mentor. We read way slower than
Yes,
someone that has English as first language.
for sure.
I remember one time I was in that previous job that I had, the in the architecture firm. There was someone giving us a CEU class, and he had like these documents, and he like put it away, around the table, and there were three immigrants on the left side, including me, and about 3, 4 people that were like Americans, English as first language on the right. And I remember that almost at the same time, simultaneously, all the people from the right side flipped their page almost at the same time. And about 2, 3 minutes later, all the immigrants, including me, flip the same
Flip.
first page.
Okay.
It takes us way longer to read. So when you're in a time exam, it makes a difference because you're trying to, it's like your brain is trying to process the information, make sure that you're reading what you're reading, that you're
Right.
understanding what it says, and then actually get into the weeds of like, what is it they're actually asking me? Because
Yes.
obviously they're not easy questions. They're trying to challenge someone who went to school here, and
Right.
you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So that was
Yes.
one of the things. I had to take boot camps. Michael Rasica is a big guide
Wow.
on helping people getting the exams done and all that, preparing for it, better said. So I joined them. They became my family. I started building up community. And through that, I started really helping others because I realized, like, oh my gosh, it's not just me.
Yeah.
No, there's more people out there going through what I went through. And I always say when I start mentoring people now, I said, oh, I just wish I had a Gloria when that was where you are right now, because it makes it so much easier to have some direction, someone to just ask the simple questions. Like there was one step that I did wrong, just to give you an example of like some of the little things that can make such a big difference in the process for us, was that the main organization that I actually volunteer with them now as a licensing advisor is NCARB, the National Council of Architectural Registration Boards. NCARB. NCARB is the ones that regulate the exams.
Mm.
So you have usually a profile with them where you put all of your information, and it kind of help you put all the stuff together for evaluating your education, the exams, this or that, reporting your hours. And there was a tab where it says registrations. And I have no idea. I'm like, oh, is this for like an event? Register for an event?
Oh.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I never touched it. I didn't know what it meant, nothing. And I started a path for international educated architects or
Mm-hmm.
designers or potential architects that needed a very in-depth evaluation of my education, and it took time, and it was going to send me back to school and all this
Right.
stuff, and just the evaluation itself is like over $2,000, a lot of money, a lot
Wow.
of time. You have to translate all the paperwork, and it's like a nightmare. And I got it. I did it. I got it back. The results came with 6 credits of deficiencies on educational part. One
Mm-hmm.
was 3 credits of education of English.
Mm.
Even so I knew English, it wasn't in my
Right.
whole documentation from
Right.
college. And the other one was codes and regulations, because like building codes are different in
Right.
each country.
Different.
So that was
Mm.
obvious. But I have those 6. I needed to go back to college to get those credits done. And just the codes and regulations class was over $3,000 alone.
Oh my
So
gosh.
I'm kind of like waiting to be able to take that and all that. And at some point someone says, but you have a license in the Dominican Republic. Why don't you take the foreign architect pack? And I'm like, what are you talking about? Yeah, like if you go out and you put in the Inca record, no, you have your license, then the system is gonna recognize that you're internationally licensed, and
Right.
the process is different. You don't even need the ESA with that, which is the evaluation
Oh,
of the education and going back to school and all that. You don't need to complete any of it. And I'm like, what? My gosh, it's gonna save me time and money. Even
money.
so,
Yeah.
I already wasted the first part of the process, right? Oh my gosh. You know where it was? It was in that registration tab. Because the registration tab meant licenses. They just changed it because again, a group of us keep saying it doesn't translate. It doesn't
Yes.
translate for people like us. Like we need you to like make it clear licenses. So they changed it, but it was years and years of that tab saying registrations, and people not even putting
Right.
down that they had a license somewhere else. So the system will recognize that they needed to go through this older path, which was shorter, cheaper, better. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
that little mistake cost me almost a year of
Wow.
wasted time.
My gosh.
So how do I got here? I passed the exams in 2019. I was actually very comfortable in the job that I had at the time. I really liked the company. They were great. People were great in general. But then, I got pregnant with my first daughter, Nova. I have 3 now, 3 kids. Nova was born in 2020 in the middle of the pandemic, all the chaos and
Yes.
everything closed and everything that happened. And
Yeah.
one of the things that I learned in this process as a mom is that in the United States, when you get pregnant, the first thing you want to do is finding out, daycares around your
Yes.
area. Which I didn't know. But you have to know about that because you might not get on time. The
Yes.
baby might arrive and you might not have
Oh,
where to
yes.
get the baby,
Yeah.
when you get out of your maternity leave. And
Yes.
it's very stressful for like new parents. So
Oh,
we
yeah.
did that. We tried to figure out where she was gonna be because both me and my husband work. Then, COVID hit. So everything was closed. So they didn't accept Nova. So we didn't
Right.
have where to put Nova when she was born by the time I was getting out of my 3 months of maternity leave. And my job was, everything was just starting to open, airports,
Mm.
whatnot. So I remember my direct boss needed to travel when that happened, and they wanted me to come back full time in person to the office when I was supposed to come back
Right.
because he needed to travel. And I was the only other licensed architect at the time in that specific office because they had different offices around Florida and other states. And I just couldn't do it.
Yeah.
It's like my priorities changed. Now my baby was my number one priority, and I needed to do what was best for me and my family.
Right.
I was not in a daycare because everything was closed. Like she
Yeah.
was, so it was kind of like a gap scene, I feel, because that's when my husband said, when you came to the States with me, we got married. The plan was you starting your business. And
Right.
then all this other stuff force you to get a job you
Mm.
know, and then he got comfortable and that's fine. But he's like, but now I have my businesses. We can try it and see what happens. And if it doesn't work, then you get another job because this one obviously is not cooperating with the flexibility that we need right now.
Right. Right.
So 2020, I make the decision of quitting my job and starting Glow Architects. I remember that one of the things that I went to a conference in 2019. Let me clarify this part of the story, where this girl was talking about. She was one of the keynote speakers, and she said that whenever she was about to make like a very big life decision,
Mhm.
she will ask herself like, what if I fail? What is the worst thing that can happen if it doesn't go how I want it to? So she will
Right.
like play it in her head like the worst scenario. And with that worst scenario in her head, at least, she will kind of like ask herself like, how what will you do about it?
Right. Right.
So I remember doing that exercise with myself and saying, like, what is the worst that I can imagine right now that will happen? It's like, I wouldn't get any clients and I will have to just go back and get a job. And you know what? I mean, I've been working for somebody for 4 years,
Yeah.
that bad if you think about it. So,
Yeah.
but let me try it and see. And let me tell you, I haven't looked back.
Wow.
Market has been strong and stable. We've been very blessed having really great clients. We don't even invest in marketing or anything. We've been just from relationship with people that we know, developers that we've made relationships locally, and just a lot of words of mouth and repeat clients and referrals from other architects, other people that we work with, like engineers, general contractors, and people like that. So yeah, it's
Wow.
has been crazy. I think I want to complete part of your question is how I got here in general was that as I got involved with the boot camp with Michael Rizica that I mentioned, I also started getting involved with organizations that are like the American Institute of Architects, AI. I
Mhm.
started locally. Now I'm involved with them at the state level with AI Florida. And I'm also part of their strategic council as an at-large representative for AI
Wow.
National. So I started very small in the small, not the smaller because you do a lot of work, but I would say like the youngest position was
Yes.
associate director. So I was like helping people getting their exams done and getting the license. And from there I took like other positions. Director is director, that's that, secretary, treasurer, et cetera, and I just kind of like kept escalating, learning more. I While I was serving AI Tampa Bay, I was the founder of their current Women in Architecture Committee. Their current Young Architect Forum too is another committee. I did a lot of work for them, like getting people community and events to kind of get together and opportunities. People actually got jobs from some of those events, like connected with people that were like looking for talent and people that wanted to change jobs and whatnot. So it was really great. I think
Wow.
the main thing was for me starting to say yes and kind of like understanding that at the end of the day, people don't care how much you know until
Yeah.
they know how much you care. So like
Yes.
you have to give first, you have to start just helping others and kind of being there for others, and then like slowly it's kind of like the universe and God and whatever thing that you believe that is bigger than you just starts kind of like sending that back to you in a positive way. And I think that's what happened with me because from doing that, I not only started growing with some of these organizations in my
Mhm.
leadership roles in general, which is how I landed with the Immigrant Architects Coalition too, as part of their board of directors, and director of programs with them. I'm part of their podcast. I'm a
Wow.
co-host in one of their series. and I'm a co-author and several of their books too. But
Wow.
all of these happened because some of the work that I was doing first, like you kind of have to dress for the job that you want to be performing.
Yeah.
I was doing the job first, and that's how some of these other things happened to me, thankfully, because I've been very blessed to feel that I have made a positive impact in many immigrant architects
Wow.
around the country and outside of the country too.
Kudos to you. Congratulations. And this is just amazing to hear, how it started to how it's going now. And that is such an inspiring story. And tell us a little bit about you having English as a second language to now being a keynote speaker. What did that journey look like? And what would be your advice for other people who are like, English is not my first language, so I don't know if I can do this or not? What would be your advice for that?
Several things. So I did have a little bit of experience as someone who will feel be comfortable in front of a crowd or
Mm,
things like that. Because back in the Dominican Republic, I also was a professor for an art school of. I was teaching architectural drafting and interior design 1 and 2. So like I was comfortable with like being in front of people. And as an architect, we do a lot of presentations. So like you kind of have to have a little bit of that, anyways.
yeah.
But it was very different in Spanish in my
Right.
country with my people, my rules, my territory. You know what I'm saying? Versus here is like it was very intimidating. I got some of these opportunities to like, hey, come and speak and whatever. When I started actually doing some presentations for the boot camp, because I was like getting so into some of the topics for the exams and like trying to understand some things that we will present as a group. We will like one person will take over today and do some little presentation explaining a topic. So I started doing that, and
Mm,
from there, it kind of grew because when I was serving AI Tampa Bay as the associate director, then I was doing full presentations for people taking the exam. So it started with the exams and like trying to help
uh-huh.
people to understand certain things that were like really difficult and whatnot. But from there, it kind of grew to something else because then I was invited to talk about leadership and what a
Mm,
good leadership looked like to me. And I was reading books of like John Maxwell, Levels of Leadership. There's this other book that I love called um 212 degrees leadership, which is about like just kind of giving that one little extra percent to be better and being like a servant leader and serving, and that you
right.
when you're the leader, you're really kind of serving others, they're not
Yeah.
serving you. So that mentality really helped me to understand like this is what I'm doing and this is the type
Mhm.
of leader that I want to be. So the whole thing of speaking in public, I do get nervous every time. That doesn't goes away. But I think one of the things that makes it easier for me is that I am more natural when I am just talking versus reading. So I
Yes.
try to really prepare myself. Whatever it is the topic that I'm gonna be talking about, I have to know it. Like
Right.
I have to know it. And I use bullet points sometimes in the slides or whatever. I have like something to remember
Right.
to remind myself like what is the direction I should be getting, and but I try not to read because it makes it very like robotic. It just doesn't come natural to me to like read in a presentation. And then the other thing I did, which I feel that it helped, I only did it for a little bit, like about 2 months, and then I couldn't go it anymore. But I did Toastmasters. Have you ever heard of them?
Yes, Toastmaster.
Someone told me about it, like, oh, you should join your local Toastmasters, and they do these meetings. I think it's weekly or every 2 weeks, and you go out and do this little 3 minute speech, and they give you feedback, and they tell you when you do a lot of the ahs and ums, and they someone counts it and makes it so obvious for you. Like, oh my gosh, I'm saying this like 1,000 times.
Yes.
So it kind of helped me a lot to like let loose and realize that even so my English is not perfect, I do have an accent. I do mispronounce certain words, and sometimes I go too fast too when I'm talking because we Dominicans we do speak
Big
fast and it's
fans.
just the
Yes.
same. But I feel that it helped me see that people still understood me.
Yes.
The expectation was higher from me
Right.
than it was from them because it's like they don't expect you to have a perfect English because English is not your first language. And something that one of them told me one time is like, how do you think I feel if I was in front of you who is a Spanish native speaker and I will try to do a full presentation in Spanish when Spanish is not my first language?
Right.
You will show me so much compassion
Yes.
in acceptance because you know that I'm not supposed to be perfect. What is important is my message,
Right.
right? So that really changed a little bit of my mentality because I was like, yeah, people know that I'm not from here and I'm just doing the best I can. And what matters is what I'm trying to tell you. The
Yes.
message that I convey in this presentation is what really matters, not how my voice sounds. It's not about me. It's not about my pronunciation, things like that. So I think if you take that out of the equation, like it's not about you, it's about the way you're serving these people and the
Yes.
message that they're going to get and how this is going to make an impact on them, then he might help you to kind of like move forward. The last thing I will say is I still think that people just in general, even if it's in their own language, feel very nervous on speaking in front of others.
Yes.
I found that sometimes practicing with someone or like recording yourself helps because when you say it like 2, 3 times, you start
Yes.
kind of like getting a groove of like, I'm kind of like my words are getting kind of tangled with this one word, or like when I'm pronunciating this, it just doesn't sound natural on me. Like, let me just change this. I'm just going to say something else and just
Mm.
kind of go with the flow. So I think sometimes practicing helps. One last thing I will say, so you do have sometimes situations where you have to do a speech that is like it's time and is very
Mm-hmm.
specific. This
Yes.
happened to me when I was applying for the being at large representative for AI National, for example. Like you have to go in front of like the whole council and do like a 3 minute speech. And that happens time too. It's almost like elections. Like you have to when I was like running for something with AI Florida too, like you have to do this and it's 3 minutes. So most of the time it's better that you read
Right.
because it's time and you have to be very concise. You have to be very precise everything you're saying. So, like in those situations, I have to read.
Yes.
And what I've learned, write this one down, is in a pace that is understandable and like comfortable for people to understand and to kind of follow through with everything you're saying. You want to have about 150 words per minute.
Nice.
A lot of people don't know this. So, if you have 3 minutes, write down your speech that you're going to read and make it less than 450 words.
Mm.
Because if you have more than that, you're going to be rushed. It's just not going to sound natural. If you have even less than that and give yourself a little bit of room, make it 400. So that way you have some room to laugh, to improvise, whatever. So,
Beautiful.
or to finish just a little bit with
Yes.
less than
With
the three
little
minutes,
time.
so they're not like cutting you off. So that's one
Nice.
thing that I learned in this process. 100 words per minute is a good pace if you have to read.
Thank you so much for all this information. And your accent is beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
It's just like I can't stop listening to you. And you have so much to share, to give, especially with all your experiences so far. I feel like, you have so much to give and you are giving. So tell us a little bit about your book. What inspired you to write your book and what is the message that you're conveying through your book?
So the one book that I wrote on my own, because I have several that has been um, collaboration with others, some with
Mhm.
the Immigrant Architects Coalition, but there's one coming out. Actually, I'm traveling to New York on March 19th to the Center of Architecture there. We are launching Latinas in Architecture Volume 3. I'm part of the co-authors for it. We're going to have a book signing and all that. It's very exciting, but the one that I wrote on my own that I published in 2022, and it's not a audiobook too, in case you're an audiobook person like
Yes.
myself, is called The Architecture of Motherhood. That one is about how to balance motherhood and your professional life, especially as an architect. It's really written for anyone. You don't have to be an architect to read it. You don't have to be an immigrant to read it either. And you don't even have to be a woman mother/mother to get something out of the book, because I've gotten a couple of guys who are new dads that have read it, and there's one specifically that left me a review that made me cry because he was like, I relate so much to all of these and I'm a
Wow.
guy, and like the book was so powerful for me. So I think most of the things that I try to convey in the book is a couple of things, like you have to learn to delegate. You have to kind of lead others the way that you want them to help you. Like sometimes
Mhm.
you want help but you don't let go, but also
Yeah.
you don't explain how you want things done, so like you get frustrated when they don't get done the way you wanted, but
Yeah.
they didn't have a way to know, like, like you're talking about, like, I want an apple from that tree, but you're not explaining, like, hey, go take this ladder and take it this way and then, cut it off. They might just like get another tool and like pull it. And you're like, that's not how I want it. But they're in their head, it's like, I'm just giving you the apple. You said I want an apple, so this is my method. You never explained the method you wanted. That
Right.
happens a lot with motherhood and also with
Yeah.
architecture. So I feel like we need to learn to take some time to like explain things how we want it, delegate, trust our instincts on like people who can be part of our circle to kind of like help us manage things. I feel like one of the biggest mistakes that we make when we're new parents is thinking that we have to do everything on our own,
Oh,
that
yeah.
we are the only ones capable of doing anything for these babies, you know?
Yeah.
um but I think growing your support system is like one of the first concepts that I talk
Yes.
about in the
Yes.
book.
For
You
sure.
know, living with care and kind of based on your self-awareness, like understanding your weaknesses and your strength and the weaknesses and strengths from those who are part of your support system and taking advantage of their strength and
Yeah.
kind of like letting go your weaknesses too. Like, I'm not good at this, you know. So I give examples of like everyday things that were happening between me and my husband and things with the business and whatnot. And then organizing your chaos is another thing. I feel like
Yes.
we get so overwhelmed. We get sometimes, especially when you're trying to have that professional life and
Yes.
motherhood, that you feel like you have to be perfect on everything, doing everything at the same time. And it's like one of the first things that I do every morning is like, you see this makeup, you see this hair,
Yes.
I get up before my kids do.
Yes.
I
Yes.
have to go to sleep every night around certain time to be able to have enough sleep and
Yes.
rest. You have to be organized when you become a parent. Your kids will wake up at the same time they wake up every day. They are like the best alarm ever. They
Yes.
don't care that you went to sleep at 1 a.m. because you're scrolling down in Instagram. You know what I'm saying? Like,
So
it's gonna
true.
happen.
It is.
So like you have to be serious with your limitations and like your condition. And I learned that. I learned that I have to go to sleep to certain hours so I can get up before my kids get up, especially when they're babies. It's like their schedule is like all over the place, right? So that will allow me to have some time, even if it's 10 minutes. Sometimes I get more, like I get 30 minutes. I have had times where I get like a full hour or something, depending on the time that I wake up and what I need to get done. But
Yes.
that allows me to, get a shower, brush my teeth. And it's funny because I'm a very like my hygiene uh costumes are like, I brush my teeth every day, morning and nights, and normal stuff. I shower every day. But when you have a new baby,
Yeah.
sometimes even brushing your teeth is a challenge because you don't have time for anything.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I've realized that things like that is like I need to shower, I need to brush my teeth, I want to do my hair, even if it's
Right.
just styling it with a, curling iron real quick, which takes
Yeah.
me like 3 minutes, and then do some makeup. And it's like, this is not important for everybody. Let me clarify. You don't have to have makeup to feel beautiful.
Yes.
Some people don't need it, don't want it, don't care for it. I care for it. I like to look at myself in the mirror and feeling that I am all done and that
Yes.
I am myself and I need those 10 minutes of makeup. So
Yes.
I have to make the time for it because it makes me feel that I am ready for the day. I am still Gloria. And then I go down, get them ready, get breakfast, da da da. And everyone goes to school now because I have two of them are in school. That the little one is taking his nap right now upstairs. But like what I'm saying is, you kind of have to find an organization that works for
Mhm.
you. Another thing that works really well, and I talk a lot about it in the book, is I do a to-do list that it gets updated every day. But
Yes.
in the morning is one of the things that I go over. Is like, I was supposed to do this yesterday and I didn't get to do it. You have to give yourself some grace on that
Yes.
too, because sometimes, things just don't get done.
Yes.
And you just kind of move things around. This wasn't a priority yesterday, but like now I'm kind of late, so I'm gonna move it up. This is
Move
the
it up.
first thing I
Yeah.
need to get done. And if I get these three things done today, I'm done. I'm done. Like if
Yes.
I get the five other ones that are done, great. But if not, they can move to the next day. Like you have to like learn to prioritize and
Yes.
be graceful with yourself. The
True.
last thing that I talk about, because I talk about those 4 points, and I always remember it very easily because I match it with Glow, my company. So it's like, grow your support system, lead by self awareness, organize your chaos. And then the last one, W, is a win by grace. So
Mm.
I remember as a mother waking up the first few months and just looking at myself in the mirror and feeling like I was overweight,
Yes.
just tired all the time. like I couldn't recognize myself in
Yes.
many ways. You go through all these hormonal changes. I was breastfeeding. I breastfeed my 3 kids. Oh my gosh. And it's so much. Like you
It
start
is a
being
lot.
so hard on yourself. Like you kind of want to be here when you're like here. And it's like,
Oh,
you need to slow down,
yeah.
kind of like give yourself some grace and like be be kind with yourself and your body and the changes you're going through, because the world is messed up as it is, and you
Yes.
have many people around you sometimes that may not want you to see you succeed. Like you
Yes.
can be part of them.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? So I talk a lot about that, about kind of be kind to yourself, finding ways to find that time for yourself. Like I was saying, getting up, getting your makeup, doing whatever makes you feel. There's some woman, and I talk about the makeup because again, it's important for me, but
It's
like
for
there's
you.
some woman
Right.
that is not that. Is like they like to have their nails done.
Yeah.
They they like to go to the places where they do their eyebrows and what I don't know what it is. Like whatever you want to
Whatever
get
is self
massage or
care.
something,
Yeah.
just do it. And some
Yeah.
women, some people in general can be other things. Like I've talked with people where they said like what really gives me peace is like knowing that the house is organized. So
Yes.
like I have to get up early and just organize the house to feel that I can start my day. Well, make the time for it. Get
Yeah.
those 10 minutes before the kids. You know what I'm saying? So like I think whatever it is that works for you, you have to do it because you are the same person that you were before having kids.
Yes.
It just changes because there's something added to the mix that wasn't there before. But I didn't start being Gloria because I had babies.
Yes.
I'm still
Yes.
Gloria. I'm still someone who wants to be successful. I'm still someone who cares about architecture, cares about people, like cares about the immigrant architects that I was mentoring before I got pregnant in 2018. I was doing this since like 2016. So
Right.
yeah, that's what I will say about the book. I think it's a great read. And now again, it's an audiobook if you just want to listen to it. So yeah, it's in Amazon. If you guys want to
Perfect.
just go Gloria Kloter and you'll find me.
Perfect. We'll put the link in the show notes. So before we go, if somebody wants to get in touch with you, work with you, what's the best way to reach you?
All right. Okay. You guys can try LinkedIn because it's like the professional platform that everyone uses, but I'm going to be 100% honest. I'm super slow there. I get so many messages, DMs from people who are like vendors and whatnot. So it makes it really hard for me to kind of like go through the weeds of like which ones are actually like immigrants or
Right.
someone who is trying to reach out for help versus like people who are trying to sell me something. So the best way, because that was your question, the best way to actually reach me is actually through Instagram or Facebook or
Okay.
email. Some people even will go to my website for theglowarchitects.com and submit a message to that's a good way too. But the best way it is through my personal social media. So just get into my DMs, send me a message on Instagram, and I am usually very fast responding through it. And if we get in contact and I see that you're someone legit needing for help, I usually am graceful enough. I will even share my phone number. We talk on WhatsApp and I continue like mentoring people throughout their path and their journey with whatever it is. Sometimes they're just trying to get a new job or like passing the exams or whatever it is. I'm here for you guys. So please reach
Beautiful.
out. It doesn't bother me. I know I'm a very busy person and a lot of people sometimes feel like I don't want to like, do this because, I know you're very busy and I don't want to bother you, but I'm like, I'm doing it for like 100 other people. Like just jump in the wagon because it makes no difference at this point. Like just tell me what you need and I will help you.
Wow.
So yeah.
Beautiful. Oh my gosh. That's amazing. That's so generous of you. So, and thank you so much for being here, sharing your story. I loved this conversation. I enjoyed listening to your story and it's really inspiring that through all these difficulties and challenges you still chose your path, stuck to it, won awards and are still making such a huge impact. So, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Anisha. Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. As we close this powerful conversation with Gloria, I'm reminded that success is not accidental, it's designed. Gloria shows us that you can build a thriving career, advocate for your community, and embrace motherhood without shrinking any part of yourself. And if you're a founder, creative, or professional building something meaningful, my agency is here to support that growth. From high converting websites that reflect your authority to podcast management services that elevate your voice to team and system support as you scale, we help you build the infrastructure behind your dream. You don't have to build alone. This is Anisha Jennings reminding you that your American dream is something you design intentionally, boldly, and with support. Until next time. Thank you for tuning into Your American Dream. I hope this episode left you feeling inspired and ready to take on the world. Remember when I first landed in the US, lost and overwhelmed? Well, look at us now. We're building our dreams together. Your story matters, and I'm so honored to be a part of it. If you enjoyed our chat today, please spread the love. Rate, review, and share. Let's grow this amazing community of dreamers together. Want more? Catch my daily doses of inspiration on my Instagram @JenningsTechCorner. Also check out the show notes for more ways to connect. Remember, your accent is the voice of your ambition. Your background is your superpower. Let's dream big and achieve bigger. Until then, this is Anisha cheering you every step of the way.